Hey Earthquakes fans, welcome back to another edition of Danger and Danielle's Tactical Breakdown. We're going to look back to the tough 3-2 defeat the Earthquakes faced to Vancouver this past weekend. So Danger, let's start with just some big picture thoughts and comments from you.
Well, we should be sitting here right now talking about a good performance and a good win, because it was a positive start for the Earthquakes, but we're actually going to be sitting here now and, in my opinion, probably talking about one of the most disappointing games of the whole season. And it hasn't been a great season, obviously, but I thought the way that this game went down, probably for me, from a team perspective, from an individual player's perspective, is probably the most disappointing of the lot.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I'm frustrated. I know the fans are frustrated. I'm on the sideline, and I heard the boos on Saturday night, and I also get to see the face of every single sub that comes off of the field from about 5 feet. Every single player is frustrated, and I get the feeling. So let's now dig into a little bit of maybe why that's happening and what we can take away from it. So as you mentioned, Danger, it was a tale of two halves, and the first half was really positive for the Earthquakes, scoring 2 goals early. Talk about some of the things that were going right.
Well, we talked in the open about Danny Houston in the last 8 games. He hadn't scored his goals, and we needed to get the ball to him a lot more. And I think the Quakes tried to do that. They looked for Danny early. They looked to try and get behind the Vancouver Whitecaps. But more importantly, there was good energy. They pressed the ball when they lost it. They won it back in good areas. We thought that Anibal Godoy bossed the midfield in the first half and was on the ball a lot and controlled the tempo of the game, which was played mostly in the Vancouver half. And they played the way the Quakes like to play, and that is they got good width, they got service from the right and the left with Kreberg and also Nick Lima, and they seemed to get plenty of people in the box as well. So yes, it was a really good, positive first 30 minutes, and I could see no way other than building on that, and that was probably, as we go back, the disappointing thing.
Yeah, there was a lot of confidence, the body language was good, it was very proactive, energetic, and you could feel that from the sideline as well, and that's part of the reason that they scored those 2 goals. So at halftime, obviously something happened because there was a big change from the first half to the second half. You've been in locker rooms before. What was going on in the locker room of Vancouver with Carl Robinson and in the Quakes locker room with Michael Starry?
Let's start with the Vancouver locker room. Yeah. Carl Robinson played all of his football in England, played for Wolverhampton Wanderers. He's Welsh, and with a Canadian mentality as well. We talked about it during the game. Vancouver, they're going to be tough. They're going to have good set pieces. They're going to look to counter-attack. That's what they do. They do it really well. Carl Robinson must have said, hey, we're here playing against the worst team in Major League Soccer right now, as far as the record is concerned, and we're losing and we're trying to make the playoffs. That's not good enough. Get yourselves out there, start getting stuck into some tackles, start winning the ball. Let's try and play a lot more proactive. When you win it, let's go straight away. Let's get behind their defense. Come on, lads, let's start playing. I want to see somebody do something about this. From Michael Starries, I think he's quite pleased with the first half. Yeah, it went down just a little bit after the last 10 minutes of the first half. I think he's looking for more of the same. Hey guys, let's go out with the same mentality, and also then let's pick them off. Let's get the 3rd goal as they press a little bit. But sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, is to go out there and just, hey guys, just do the same. Yeah,
and the reality is you can't do the same, because you said it, Carl Robinson is getting into his guys, probably using a few 4-letter words, and it's not going to be the same, because Vancouver is going to come out with an increased level of energy. So I think the best coaches that I've played for in the past at halftime, they give you something to do. Even if you've already been doing it well, they give you something to be more proactive about, because you must raise the level, because you know that the opponent is going to raise their level as well.
And here's a couple of things I didn't like about the second half of the Quakes. So I think Carl Robinson's gone, we need more. Straight away, they've targeted Anibal Godoy, who we thought played well in the first half. 2 tackles, 2 yellow cards in within the first couple of minutes of the second half. They're targeting him. The other yellow card they got in a span of, I think, 1.5 minutes was the tackle on Lima. Stop Lima, stop Godoy. Didn't see any reaction from the Quakes players. Didn't see anybody try and get a tackle in on Felipe Martins, who was kicking Anibal Godoy. I need to see more of that. I need to see more leaders from the Quakes in that particular situation. And then, yes, obviously, and we'll go into the second half and we'll talk about it, but once the first goal went in, the heads dropped. And you can't do that. This is professional, and you need to be able to react to that, and we didn't see a good reaction.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the second half and the performance. First of all, obviously Vancouver's come out with a renewed energy. I talked about the fact that they got 3 quick yellow cards. They were being far more aggressive, and I think that set the tone for the second half. And what you need from the Quakes at that point is, number one, a fight to be able to match the efforts and the tackles that are going in. And then second of all, you need to have a game plan to sit back and just a little bit deeper, and don't let a Vancouver team that likes to get behind and likes to counter get behind you. Now, even if you'd have done all those things, I think the first goal was always got a chance of going in, because it was just a free kick in the top of the box. And it was one that was given away. Maybe it's a sloppy tackle, but these things happen. And then the more I've looked at this goal, I think it was a well-worked free kick, because Vancouver do work on their set pieces. They had 2 or 3 men in the wall. I think Jordi Reyna has hit the ball through that gap. So it's a well-struck free kick, and a free kick with a lot of good direction that's bounced in front of Andrew Tarbell. Now, I still maintain that if Andrew does get both hands on that, and he did, he should probably do better with that. But it was a much better free kick than I thought so when I watched it live.
Yeah, I agree with you. And to me, it's not so much the goal, it's the reaction, right? And it's the 9 minutes that followed that's really the heartbreaker, and was maybe for me some of the hardest soccer to watch throughout the course of this season. And the second goal, at that point, just a couple minutes later, it felt different. The team dropped their shoulders, and that goal in particular, Joel Queber gives the ball away, a fairly square pass where he has Anibal Godoy. All he has to do is play it to Anibal's right foot, and there is space. Look forward, look proactive, especially when you're at the point of a season where you know things are tough and you've just given up a goal. So Vancouver does well to do what they do best, which is catch you on the counter, but unfortunate turnover in midfield, something we've talked about earlier in the season. A better option would have been to go forward. And then Guram Kashia, he does what he can to try to get there. He gets crossed over, Teixeira cuts it back, opening up the goal, which makes it a really an easy finish for him in that moment. Goal number 3. What are your thoughts? Break that down for us a little bit.
Well, at this point, the team, that being the Quakes, have got real stressed out. And the things that we talked about in the first half, they did well. One of them especially was getting pressure on the ball. No pressure on the ball. I think, as you say, it was a crazy 9 minutes. The team has started playing negative. Instead of going forward, they went sideways with the second goal. And now there's no pressure on the ball. And when you give no pressure on a talented player, whoever it is in Major League Soccer, they had the amount of time to keep the ball and look up. A lot of time for Jordi Reyna, once again, to make the run. We still haven't seen a convincing view of that to know whether he was onside or not, to be honest, but I think he must have been onside. He's got a lot of time to time his run, but the key is there's no pressure on the ball. There has to be pressure on the ball, otherwise your back four are in sort of no man's land as far as trying to pick up the run. So from the Vancouver perspective, they've used the space, they've used the time to play the ball they had. But from the Earthquakes perspective, defense starts there, there's no pressure on the ball, makes these guys' jobs very hard, and it's a really, really bad goal.
Yeah, so for me, just like I said, a tough string of minutes there for the Earthquakes, and more than any tactics, more than anything that you and I can break down Danger, it's about leadership in that moment, it's about coming together, and it's not just about saying it, right? It's about using those things to propel them forward, which is what we're looking for them to do tomorrow against Dallas, and again this weekend they head back to Vancouver to see if they can get a little revenge. So that was the week. We look forward to the rest of it, but thank you for joining us for another edition of Danger and Danielle's Tactical Breakdown.